Hello, I'm Sue Shapcott in a very windy Madison, Wisconsin, and today I'm going to show you how to play and control your shots a little bit more in the wind. Okay, so hopefully you can't hear from the mic how windy it is, but it's pretty blustery here in Madison this morning. The gusts are about 25 to 30 miles an hour. And when the wind gets up high, then there's a few things that you need to consider with your golf game. So first off, I'm going to talk about how you control the height of the ball when it's windy. If you can keep the ball a little bit lower, then it's going to be less affected by the wind. And secondly, what kind of mile per hour then you need to consider when thinking about whether you should change clubs when playing in the wind. Okay, so let's start off by controlling the height, controlling the trajectory in the wind. So basically what you're doing when you try and control the trajectory is you're trying to reduce how much spin you have on the ball. Because the more you spin the ball, particularly with an iron, a more lofted iron, then the more the ball's going to climb, and we don't want that in the wind. So we need to keep the spin rate low. And so the wind right now is blowing into me and a little bit on my back. So this way, a little bit from left to right, so not a very pleasant wind to play in. And it's really tempting when the wind gets high to try and hit the ball harder to account for the fact that the wind is blowing in your face. And the harder you hit the ball, the more spin you're going to put on it, and the worse it's going to be in terms of the ball being affected by the spin. So first things first, when you've got a strong wind like this into us and across, then you actually want to try and swing a little bit slower, reduce your club head speed a little bit so that you don't put so much spin on the ball. So that may require going up a club. So if you're usually hitting a 7-iron, then you might want to hit a 6-iron instead, because we don't want to be hitting the ball as hard as we can, because that's just going to increase the spin rate. So first things first, then when you're playing in the wind, although it's intuitive to want to try and hit the ball hard, we want to keep the spin rate low, which means hitting the ball a little bit softer. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to play the ball back in my stance a little bit, and that's going to help me keep the ball low as it takes off. So by playing the ball back, I'm going to reduce the dynamic loft on the face, and as long as I don't hit the ball particularly hard, it means the ball's going to take off low and it's going to stay low. Now, if I play the ball back in my stance and I do increase my club head speed, then it might take off low, but that spin rate's going to increase and the ball's going to balloon up. So playing the ball back and just kind of hitting a little easier than I might normally do. So let's just have a go at that. I can really feel the wind on my back here. So I'm going to play the ball back. And instead of hitting the ball as hard as I can, I'm just going to take it a little bit easier. And that's going to help me keep the ball a little bit lower. Okay, now, I'm not sure exactly how high that ball went, but I don't know, let's say it went 20 feet high. Now, if I play the ball back and hit it harder, then it started off low, but then it started to climb a lot higher. Okay, so your club head speed is going to help you reduce your spin rate. Now, the other thing that you need to consider is how much this wind is going to affect what club you hit. So we've got two factors here. One is we're saying just swing a little bit slower, period. And so that means that you're probably going to club up and hit a longer club than you would do ordinarily for the distance. But then we have the other factor in that as the wind starts to get stronger, then what's a good rule of thumb when we're playing into it, or even on with a side wind, then how is that going to affect the club that I use? And the rule of thumb that I use is for every 10 miles an hour, then I'm going to hit an extra club. So if the wind is blowing 10 miles an hour and I'm a distance that I would normally hit a 6-iron, then I'm going to start hitting a 5-iron. If the wind gets up to 20 miles an hour, then I'm going to maybe consider going up 2 clubs. So the further you hit it, then you might need to calibrate that. So if you hit it further than I do, then 10 miles an hour might mean slightly less than a 1 club difference. If you don't hit it particularly far, then you might want to think that 10 miles an hour is at least a club's difference. Okay, so playing in the wind is tricky. It's gonna kind of blow your swing around a little bit. It's gonna maybe ruin your technique slightly during that round, but there are ways that you can control the ball flight and account for the wind as you're playing. I hope that helps. Please check out some of our other videos and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.